There we go. Okay, I was trying to show you all a map of where Dell is in Kenya, but you can find it too. I believe it's up in the northwest on Lake Turkana. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, anyway, rather than lose everyone here, okay, Dell, I'm going to have you go ahead and we'll get started. And why don't you go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about who you and Suzanne are, what you do, and then go ahead with your presentation.
Okay, I'm Dale Livingston, and today I'm in Lodwar, Kenya, which is in the district of.
I lost you.
I don't hear him either.
My sound went out. There you go.
Yeah, me too.
Did he say Lodwar? Lodwar? I've got a map of Kenya up on my other computer, so
Lake Turkana?
Yeah, Lake Turkana.
I see Lake Turkana, but did he say Lodwar? Lodwar?
I'm not sure.
Can't hear anything.
Does he know that we can't hear him?
I don't think.
That's why I was pointing at my ears. Cannot hear.
No.
Camp has about 200,000 or more people,
Oh, okay.
and the population is made up from people from 11 different countries. And if you're from a jungle country and you get transferred up here, you've got a whole new lifestyle. The average temperature is about 100 degrees. And we've been doing this biosand water projects in Kenya since 2007. We work with COST, Center for Affordable Water and Sanitation Technology out of Calgary. And they've been very helpful with us. And we've been kind of their mouthpiece over here in East Africa for quite a while. You know, when you're in a country for as many years as we've been, you get involved with a lot more other things than water. You become the answer to a lot of things in their lives, it seems. And so you get asked to do a lot more things than you intended. So that's pretty much what we do here. And I usually spend 6 months a year here in Kenya or in Uganda. We have our projects have grown from the beginning in Prince Theological College in Kaimosi, Kenya, to now it's about 14 or 15 countries of Africa. So we've got a pretty good plate full. And each place is different, so it's pretty hard to make a blueprint exactly of how a project is going to work. But trial and error makes it kind of come through.
Okay.
If anyone has any questions about what we do.
One thing, Dale, don't you and Suzanne work on some education projects in Kenya besides water
Yes,
and sanitation?
we do. Yes. Well, you know, the hygiene sanitation program kind of leads us right into the educational end of it. And that's been a real eye-opener as far as we're concerned. These schools are supposed to be free, but long shot from it. Excuse me, it's 5 o'clock in the morning here. I didn't comb my hair before, but I thought maybe I would just in case the internet worked. But the education is so critical that we do quite a lot as far as bringing in computers and books and things like this. And my wife is a retired school teacher, so I couldn't leave the education part of it alone. And so there's a lot of small schools that have come up, and one in particular is started by a lady named Rosemary Odata. She takes kids in that the parents can't afford to get their kids at school at all, and she works with them. And by the time that she's had them for 2 or 3 years, then they qualify to be able to go into regular primary school. Although she's had some students that are 8, 9 years old that haven't even gone through the kindergarten class. So there's a lot of learning that goes on that they've missed. School is quite different here in the curriculum. By the time a child is in kindergarten can print better than most of us. They're very regimented. And so she works with that kind of thing. And she's one of those that has popped up like this. And of course, she needs assistance on funding. The last several years, she's had an organization from Netherlands helping, and another one from Norway that have assisted in general school supplies. Then there's uniforms and all these other things to go with it. But this is a common situation for the kids to fall through the cracks in education here. It doesn't cost a whole lot in our sense to go to school, but when they say it's free, figure on about $200 to $300 a year for extra expense. And so that's pretty well where we land on most of the education situations, trying to get some of these kids up and running.
On that, Dell, do you follow the Rotary guidelines on targeting, especially basic education for mothers and children? Because there's a move right now, isn't there, to get some mothers educated as well?
Yes, this is, and as a matter of fact, this is a project that I was just working with the last couple of days up here in the refugee camp. In that, can you imagine a classroom, 150 kids at 4.5 to 5 years old, 150 of them, one teacher, and try to get anything done as far as education is concerned.
No ratio regulations.
We've been working with the program to assist some of these mothers to do some of the pre-education program, so that even if they have to go to the public school, they have the background to be able to function when they get into the primary, because they're not getting it at all from the regular classroom. But we have teachers, we have people in the refugee camps that are pretty well educated. It's just a matter of getting them steered into the right direction to make some of these things happen.
On that, Dell, the refugee camp you're referring to, are those still people from Rwanda?
There are people from Rwanda, Burundi, DRC, Zimbabwe, Uganda, and a huge amount from South Sudan. So we've got people from Ethiopia, Somalia, even clear over to Central African Republic. So we scatter from all over, and but Each group, and sometimes broke down into ethnicities within countries, like with the South Sudanese, they're put in separate camps. And so each camp has to be dealt with in its own training processes and all works, because they bring their culture right with them.
I can imagine. You just named off about 8 countries. I can imagine the diversity in culture. Backing up a bit, can you tell us a little bit about, you said you're doing some sanitation projects. Did you say biosand filters?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's what we based this on in the first place, was the biosand water filter that is promoted by Center for Affordable Water and Sanitation Technology out of Calgary. And Rotary has used this filter in quite a number of situations. And there's another organization out now making them out of plastic, but we tend to stick with the concrete ones as much as we can, primarily because we can produce and create jobs. And each project will produce a half a dozen permanent jobs if they really want to get down and work on it.
That's great. So is
When
economic
you've got
development.
unemployment,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Dale.
yeah, youth unemployment is in the neighborhood of 70%.
What percent?
About 70% youth unemployment.
70.
And
Okay.
this is one of the things that leads into a lot of the riots that go on. These guys can be paid 50 cents or $1 and they'll put on a pretty good riot for you. So that's been a real problem.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're doing quite a bit over there, Dell. Water, sanitation, education, economic development. Anything in the way of health and hygiene?
Yes, that's with our program. Hygiene and sanitation is a key part of the whole training process, and so we work on hygiene, sanitation. Then we tie that in with the water filters, so that when we're doing these people that trained, we've got groups within that we've trained of people that can go along with us. I don't usually go out in the field. It's better not. It's better to keep it Kenyan or local, whatever country I'm in, than to have a white guy coming along. But I do go along because some of the people know me, and that way we can do follow-up, because just a one-shot training of hygiene sanitation doesn't change the culture. And this is a long-term process, and it's something you better not hang your hat on it real quick. That you train 500 people, well, your percentages are going to be pretty low if you're just doing one training process. It's got to be follow-up, because it's a continuing education program that we work with. And that way we tend to get some better results, particularly if they're using the filters, they're getting the water side of the waterborne illnesses, all that taken care of, but then their whole style of living as far as hygiene and sanitation. Then we haven't had a chance to really work on this big problem, and that's the latrines. It's very difficult to get people to imagine themselves investing in latrines. They will be more apt to invest in wells or boreholes than they will to clean up the environment and that end of the sanitation situation. That's one of the things I've really worked with over and over for years. And there are traditions that you have to deal with. Some of the things you might have as a wonderful idea, but turn around to be taboo by the tribes that you're working with. So that's pretty well where we are on that hygiene sanitation on the road. It's like I said, it's a lot of work.
Okay, are you open for some questions? Because I'm going to go around the members.
Definitely.
Okay, because we have a really good turnout tonight. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to ask Tanya Paripa if she has any questions.
Yes, I actually have a couple questions.
Sure.
So I don't know if you mentioned this in the beginning, we had some difficulty hearing.
Tanya, I have to put him. Okay, go ahead now.
Sorry, in the beginning, that was kind of difficult to hear. So how and why did you get started with this Kenya project? I mean, 6 months a year seems like a long time, like a large investment in time.
Okay, did you catch all that, Dale?
No, the question didn't come through at all. I could just barely
Okay.
hear her voice at all.
Okay, well, hang on. What I'll do is, okay,
Why don't you repeat it? You repeat it.
Yeah, you repeat the question.
okay. I'm going to ask Tanya to repeat the question, and then I'll repeat it. I'll repeat it back to you.
Okay. Yes. So I did have a couple questions. So it was difficult to hear in the beginning. So why and how did you get started? 6 months seems like a long time investment.
Okay, Tanya wants to know why and how did you get started doing this? And it seems as though 6 months per year out of your life is a huge investment.
Good question. Well, it kind of started years ago. We used to take kids on spring break to Mexico to work. And water was always a big issue. And so we found out that the people were spending like a third of their cash that they had available on clean water. And because the water that the cities were providing was very high alkaline and just totally not palatable at all. And so I thought there's got to be something out there. So one day I happened to be doing some browsing on the internet and ran across this biosand water filter. And so I thought, man, that looks like it ought to be the cat's meow for this thing. But really, it was kind of over most people's head about that water could be cleansed that easily. And Suzanne and I were visiting in Mazatlan, and we happened to run across two couples building these biosand water filters at Mazatlan. And so I worked with them for a couple of days and got certified to do the whole thing. And then I got the opportunity to go to Africa. And because there was a big problem with hygiene, but waterborne illness at one of the colleges. And we knew the principal of the school, and he says, "Hey, come on over." He says, "We need this." And presto, it worked. So I was sold, and suddenly we had kids that were down with typhoid and diarrhea really bad and couldn't study. And in just a matter of days that they were back up in shape. So, and that school has not had another incidence of typhoid in all these years. So I'm pretty sure that the filters are doing a good job. And so from then on, it just kind of snowballed from there on, and it kind of, I was getting toward the retirement thing. What am I going to do after 65 or 70? And figured, golly, it's got to be something out there to do besides television. So that's how it all worked, and we started raising funds. We've done some Rotary projects, and here we are. And I've got a list of other projects I might like to discuss with you before we finish here.
That's something else, Tanya, what he said about once they got the biosand filters working, with just very shortly thereafter, the children were healthy again. So let's go around. I'm going to go up here. Let's go up here and ask Jennifer, do you have any questions for Dell?
Yeah, I have a few. For starters, do you go from town to town Or is this through nonprofit or NGO networks or churches, or how are you organizing these new projects?
Okay, Dale, the question was, how are you organizing these projects? You're going through a church group? Are you personally going from town to town? And I guess I'll add something to Jennifer is, are you going through using Rotary grants or going through other Rotary clubs? How is it you're organized to where you can go out in the field and do this work?
In other words, how you fund it?
We do go through some churches that really have an interest in hygiene sanitation, primarily for their parishioners. But generally, and the groups that work the best are the self-help organizations that are already established in the country. There are a lot of people out there who want to see things better in the countries they're in. And they'll work pretty diligently to see that happens. And so I really never have to go out looking for them. They look for me. So, and then I can kind of sort them through. I see these different places, and I'll ask questions if anybody's organizing anything in the community. And there's usually somebody around us that actually is working on water, for instance. And but without funding, they don't go very far. And we've done some projects with Rotary, and the fact that we've like with one school we did that was a school for the handicapped. Handicap situations are pretty tough. It's very hard for the governments to seem to spring loose with money to upgrade schools for handicapped or physically handicapped or mentally, either way. That project just made a fantastic difference in this whole school. We improved the water situation. We did water harvesting, and there's plenty of rain there, but it all was going down the drain. And so now they have a good water supply. And they use the biosand water filters very diligently, and we've got about 80 students there. And so then one quite large project I did, I basically lived with the Tesla people for 2 years doing a project putting in a reservoir at one village. Reforestation has been kind of an afterthought in the country. When they saw that they were running out of trees, now they're really concerned. But they allowed one huge ridge to be logged off, and there were no more springs. So that's how I got involved with it. It was the only time we had water was when it rained. So we worked on encouraging reforestation, then also building a reservoir so that when it did rain, they were able to have enough water to carry through till the next rains.
Okay.
So,
could you tell us again?
That's kind of where we are on.
Okay, Dell, could you say again more clearly or spell it? You said you lived with a tribe for 2 years?
Basically, yes. I was free to go on weekends. It was kind of nice to be able to talk with some English a little bit. They had a community pavilion thing that they had built where they had their council meetings and so forth, and they just kind of turned that over as my house while I was there. And we had, I had about 50 to 60, mostly women, preparing the stone for this reservoir. And then the men would do all the mixing and doing the forms and things like that to prepare it for the concrete. So it was an all-out community effort that way. Wow. And But I tell you, when you're living with them, you learn an awful lot. You get into learning their customs, plus the elders will tell you stories of how a tribe happens to be there and things like that.
Fascinating. So one of the things, I'm going to unmute Jennifer again, because I know she said she had 2 questions, but one of the things what I heard you say that's really good to hear is a lot of the work and the projects were accomplished by self-help groups. So people getting out there and being motivated to do improve their own lives. So Jennifer, you want to ask that second question?
I do. The second question, I was looking at the Wikipedia page about the lake that you were talking about before we couldn't hear you anymore for a while. And it said that there was something wrong with the groundwater in that area, that it had to do with it being too alkaline or too acid. I can't remember which it was, but that it was not drinkable as it was. Now, I get the idea of water filtration for disease, but how do you change the makeup of the water, or are you getting it all from rainwater in order to change the other things that are in the water that aren't disease?
Wow, great question. Okay, Del, this is a good question. Okay, Jennifer says she did some research in that Lake Turkana area, and she's found out that a lot of alkaline in the lake. And her question is, when you're doing the sand filters, are you trying to change the can you filter out and change the composition of that water that's alkaline, or are you relying on rainwater to process through these filters?
You do have a good question. That water has become very alkaline, and I don't want to get into my temperament, but sometimes I wonder what's going on. There's a river that flows into the north of Lake Turkana. And the government of Ethiopia and Kenya have never made an agreement that water should flow into that lake. So Ethiopia is capturing nearly all of it now. And so the salinity of the lake is rising. But it's a massive producer of tilapia, and that's a big export item. And but for the water that we use, there are stream beds. They look like, when you're flying over, look like rivers, but it's rivers of sand, and it retains a lot of water. And the way that people get along is they dig down into that sand. Sometimes very shallow, and sometimes they'll go as much as 30 feet. Then they dig buckets and haul the water up out of there. The water comes up kind of an orange-looking color, but they drink it. That's all there is. But we have several places along trails way out in the bush where people have done this, and they actually filter the water, and it really comes out clear. So it's been marvelous what that simple filter has been able to do.
Natural, natural sand dams. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay, Jennifer, did that answer your question? Okay, I'm going to go over now to Jerry Holman. And Jerry, how about you? Questions for Dale?
Sure. I'd like to ask something about the filter itself. How big is it? How many people can one unit serve?
Okay, good question. Okay, so Dale, Jerry's question is on the sand filters. How big are they? And I think more importantly on that, his question about the size is, how many people can that filter serve?
Okay, all right. That's a good question. The biosand filter is really quite small. It's 12 inches square and 3 feet tall. And so the mechanics of the biosand filter, since there's water standing above the sand at all times, is regions can kill each other off. It's a big part of it. But the sand is so fine that we use, the bacteria won't even go through it. And amoebas, protozoa, and all that, they won't fit down through the sand. And then as the sand proceeds on, well, it picks up viruses as well as, and then all sorts of minerals. So but the capacity for one biosand filter is enough to take care of about 12 people in a household. That would be a fairly large household. But that would provide them, that would give you about 80 liters of water per day. And if they're carrying water, that's more than most of the families would ever have in the first place.
Wow, that's terrific.
But,
Okay.
They don't have that capacity. And so if you can get that much water to people, they can use water for not just drinking, but for cooking and cleaning and things like this as well.
So another question on that then.
We use the water.
Oh. Okay, I was going to ask you too, to follow up on Jerry's question, was that it can serve 12 people, has a capacity of about 80 liters, but how often do you have to change the filtering, the sands and what have you? Because they're going to fill up at some point with the contaminants, right?
Okay. What clogs up in the filter with that real fine sand is the very top. So all we do to get that taken care of is there's a water passes through a diffuser plate. When the water goes in, it just kind of sprays over the top of the sand rather than big holes into it. We take that off the diffuser plate, swish that water that's in there around, dip it out, put the plate back in place, and go about doing our filtering. That's all that's necessary.
Well, that's extremely simple technology. Okay, I'm going to move on down to. Oh, go ahead.
And we don't have to change the sand. We never change the sand.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, Chuck, I'm going to go slide down here to Chuck Pruitt. I'm going to go to Ed very last because he's taking notes. So, Chuck, do you have any questions for Dale about what's going on there and what he's doing?
Oh, I do.
Okay, all right. We'll go up here to Wade. Wade, do you have any questions for Dale and all those different things that he's doing? Any one area?
No, and forgive me for being late. The only thing I wanted to make as a comment is it sounds like you're doing a lot of great work over there, so thank you.
Okay, no questions from Wade or Chuck, but Wade wanted to compliment you on the amazing amount of work that you're doing over there and the diversity of the projects. So now I'm going to ask our secretary, Ed, if he has any questions.
I actually just a couple. Number one, because it was difficult at the beginning, Dale, is it Lodwar where he is? Lodwar?
Oh, okay. Ed was asking from he missed the very beginning, but where is it you're at? He's thought something like Logmore. Could you,
Lodwar,
maybe you could spell where you're at?
Lodwar.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I thought so. That's what I had. So I pulled up Lodwar on the internet, and I noticed that
county seat for Turkana County.
Yeah, local government.
Turkana is the area that has struck oil.
Oh.
And we've not seen a whole lot of benefit from it, but a lot of confusion. So that's and what's interesting about this whole area, there's about 400 feet down, there's an aquifer that has virtually hardly been tapped. It's virtually not been tapped.
Wow.
And it's very large.
Any chance of getting a significant Rotary grant, or maybe working with some partners, World Vision or whomever, that have resources and maybe drill down and tap that aquifer?
I don't know. World Vision's here, and I have some friends that are doing drilling here, and they always get water, and they're from in Alberta, and they just make it their life mission here to go to villages that don't have water at all, and just drilling a well and getting water for them. So it's the thing is that this area is about the size of New Jersey, so it's pretty big when you consider this rough back country. It's no roads to anything, and so this trail.
Okay, that explains why there hasn't been more work on the wells then, because it is such a difficult area. Ed has a question for you, though, Dale.
How many filters have you installed to date?
Okay, Ed wants to know if you can calculate that in your head. How many sand filters, biosand filters, have you been able to install up to today?
And how many does he anticipate to finish?
Up to today, we've probably done in the neighborhood of 18 to 20,000.
Wow.
What?
18 to 20,000? How many years?
Over
how many years, Dale?
That's from 2007.
That's amazing.
From 2007, you've been able to install. Wow.
Yeah.
And then Ed wants to know, the second half of that is, how many more do you plan to install?
I don't know how many more days the Lord's going to give me. I turned 80 this year.
Congratulations.
Are they all in that same area, Bill? Are they in that same area?
But I'm enjoying it, and I feel like a teenager out here. So it could be quite a while.
Okay. Ed was at what did you follow up with there, Ed?
I'm just curious. Are those 18 to 20,000 is an amazing number? Is that all in that same area?
Okay. Ed's question was those 18 to 20,000 biosand filters you referred to. Are they all in the Turkana area?
No, they're in that would be throughout Kenya, and a good share of that is down in the western province, which is the part that connects up with Uganda, and then on down into Nyanza, which is south of along Lake Victoria. Yeah. There aren't that many up here. In this area anyway, there's only a population of about 800,000.
Only.
And you would only see a very small percentage of those people. They come out of the back country to market, and that's about all you ever see of them.
Okay, I'm going to go back up because there's been a lot of questions, and so far so good. So I'm going to go back up and see if Tanya has another question.
Sure.
Okay,
Yes.
Tanya?
You mentioned earlier that it was $200 to $300 a year per student, or $200 to $300 a year for teaching. Is that per student?
Okay, Tanya's question is going back to the education and the cost of schooling. You mentioned a cost of $200 per year. Is that per student?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, the answer is, yeah.
And who pays?
That accounts for school supplies, uniforms, shoes are in most places required.
Okay, Dale.
Yes.
Tanya wanted to know how is that paid for? Is that paid for by the government, or do the people have to pay that?
Those items there, the people pay for. The school provides a school and a teacher. Okay.
And then so the $200, it has to be paid for by the parents then, or the families?
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. And so I'll make a follow-up question to that is, if they have to pay $200 a year to educate their child, what is the annual average income for the people in that area?
Okay, up in this area here is approximately $200 a month.
A month, okay. So,
And,
wow. Okay.
Here in yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's amazing. $200 a month. So 1 month's salary pays for one child's education for the year. So it absorbs a lot of their income.
Oh, right. Yeah, and when they, they're just like us. They've got a lot of other expenses. Even if you're living out in the bush, it's not free.
Yeah.
You have medical supplies and the huge cost for food being trucked in and so forth.
Yep, understand that. Okay, Tanya, anything more before I slide over and give Jennifer? Okay, so I'm going to slide over to Jennifer. Any more questions?
No, I just want to thank him so much for educating us on this. This is fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, Jennifer just said she wanted to thank you for this session because it's been a tremendous education for all of us to learn what it is one of our members is doing and doing such great work. So I'm going to go over to Jerry. Jerry, any other questions for Dale?
I'm interested in how he duplicates. I guess what I'm thinking of is the business aspect of the biosand filters and how they teach people to create a business and in effect duplicate what Dell does. You know, those 20,000 sand filters were probably built by 5,000 businesses that were created. So if he could talk more about how that works.
Okay, wow. Okay, really good question here, Dale. So you started off installing biosand filters, educating people on how to build them, and then the follow-up from that was small businesses were created. So Jerry's question is, okay, how were you able to replicate that? How were you able to expand that so more businesses were created? And do you have an estimate on how many small businesses now are building the biosand filters?
There's probably out of all this about 24 that are fully active as a groups. There's some that are catch can. They can, if they get an order, well, then they rally together and get things done. But setting it up as a small business, they're fairly good at the fact of knowing profit and loss, but marketing is another matter. In that their form of marketing is like everybody raises tomatoes in the town, so everybody presents their tomatoes along a row alongside the highway, and then sit there and wait. And that's their idea of marketing. And so to be able to go out and ask people or talk with people about their water issues and things like that is very difficult. But fortunately, we've got an organization called Safaricom, which is the largest entity in the country. It's a telephone organization. And they paint every building they can green, and everybody knows that there's a Safaricom dealer there. And that's why I really use that as a good example of marketing at its best. But then I bring the people together periodically so we can kind of discuss marketing, what's going on, what's working, and what's not. And it's not U.S. marketing. Okay.
But it is an ongoing effort on your part to continue to educate them on how to be businesses. And it sounds like marketing is the number one problem right now.
Nothing seems to be a one-shot deal.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to slide down. Chuck, do you have any questions at this point?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. No problem. And up here to Wade. Wade, any last questions? No? Okay. Ed, you can stop taking notes for a minute. You want to ask Dell a final question?
Actually, I'm looking at a picture of the town you're in. and there seems to be a small airport there, and I see a river flowing through it. There's also some, I guess you can't do this whole question, he's not hearing, but I'm curious, what part of the town is he in? Is he near the airport? Is he into that quadrangle of buildings? I'm just curious where he is. What's his living conditions where he is?
Okay, so Ed's wanting to know a little bit about your personal demographics at this point.
And say jumbo to him.
Okay, he's looking at a map of the town where you're at, and he sees the airport. He sees some buildings. He sees a stream. So he wants to know whereabouts you're living and what are your personal living conditions like.
Oh, well, I'll tell you. Where he sees a stream there, and that stream is really a major thing here because the upstream from that is the Parkwell Dam, and it's a major electricity producer when there's water. But we haven't had rain here now for 7 months.
Wow.
So things are getting pretty dry. And when I flew over that reservoir a couple of days ago, well, it was hardly any water there. So, but when it rains, that river it's just a rampage heading toward Lake Tacoma.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of water lost here.
That's too bad. Too bad. They have to work on some encatchment programs, don't they?
Yeah, it'd be major stuff.
Yeah. Hey, Ed wanted to know a little bit about your. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I live in Kisumu most of the time, which is down on Lake Victoria, and it's a town of about 500,000, and it's I live in pretty good accommodations in that we live in a compound there, and I work with the Friends United meeting, which is this is big Quaker country over here in Western Kenya, and so they have they've rented a compound, and I rent part of it for when I'm here. So I'm almost embarrassed to say what my accommodations are like when I'm living here. They're better than the U.S.
Understand? Yeah, you can get. I've been over there to Ethiopia, and there are some awfully nice places to stay if you know where to look. Yeah. Do you have any final words you'd like to leave us, Dell? A little bit about. Maybe you can send me an email on this, but you were saying that you wanted to give the club some ideas about potential projects. Maybe you could send me an email that I can send out to the membership.
Oh, definitely. I've got a list here just from this last go around here at Kakuma camp, a refugee camp, and that they've got projects they want to work on. And one of the fellows in particular has written a complete series on peace and reconciliation. And I think we have something in Rotary on that issue, and I would really like to pursue that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big issue, yeah. So, Dale, if you were to say, I was going to say, if you were to say, what's the number one thing that in that area you're working is needed right now amongst, hygiene, sanitation, water, economic development, education, peace and conflict resolution, what would you say the number one thing that is needed right now?
Actually, community development is really essential, and that there needs to be a push toward small businesses and even manufacturing of items and so forth, because the population's growing here just like any place else, and so we see an unemployment situation that we wouldn't tolerate in America or Canada, for that matter. That when you when you have a youth unemployment as high as it is, and the general population unemployment about 25%, it's I think it's imperative that we do as much work within bounds that, and I try to stay away from the government as much as possible, and they tend to lose money. So, but there's so many things that we can do out here to be very effective in the communities.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'm going to look around on Rotary's website, Dell. They have a thing called Rotary. They have ideas, and they have another thing called Showcase. And I'm going to see if there's anything on there where somebody else might be doing anything in economic development in Kenya. Maybe there's a way to link them with you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
That'd be wonderful.
Okay, I'll take a look at that because it's easy to look it up. But since you don't have internet right now, I'll see what I can find. Okay, any last questions for Dell? Kind of wave your hand at me so I can see if anybody. Oh, there, of course, there he is.
I
Ed.
just want. Well, I spent some time in Kenya and Tanzania, and I think Swahili is a local language there. And tell them Nimi Jufunza Sana Shukrana Kako.
Okay, you're going to have to say, okay, Ed, you're going to have to say that one syllable at a time.
Mimi Jufunza.
Nimi Disclusa?
Jifunza.
Si Diclusa.
Sana Shukrana.
Sana Sukana?
Kwako.
Kwako.
That means I have learned so much thanks to you.
He said that it's Swahili, and apparently he translated it, and that is as I have learned so much from you tonight.
Oh, well, Asante Sana.
Oh, and Asante Sana, is that what you said?
Asante Sana.
Asante Sana. Okay, that one I picked up. That one I knew.
Asante Sana.
All right. This has been a really excellent meeting, Dell. I said earlier that some of our best programs come from our membership. And at some time, I'm going to look to people like Tanya and Jennifer and Wade and say, okay, what do you do in your business and your community involvement? And ask for programs. Another, just so you all know, next month, Sasha Katsale, who was from the Victoria Harbor side, is now in our club. She's in Japan right now teaching English as a second language. And she's going to probably have to tape her program, much like Attorney General Ferguson did. But she's would like some questions from anybody. So if you would all send me emails. She was an interactor and then a rotaractor, and now she's a Rotarian, and she's overseas doing ESL. And she's trying to figure out a way to get herself to the Hamburg Convention. So she's really a marvelous young person. So send me emails ahead of time of questions so I can send them to her so she can try to answer those in her presentation. She's very tech savvy, so you'll probably see her, her talking head. And anyway, it should be a fascinating program. So does anybody have any last minute things before I say goodnight to Dell and close the meeting? Raise your hand if you have anything to add.
Did you want to mention Victoria?
Oh, yes. For those of you who may or may not read your emails, Ed has gotten us a reservation for May the 10th up at the DLTA and District Conference. For those of you who are going, it'll be at the Vista 18, which is on the top of the Chateau Victoria Hotel. And I'll send out some more details again because Ed's actually got a little confirmation back from the restaurant. I'm hoping for maybe 10 people. Right now we have Tanya Sterling, and I don't know if she's by herself. Ed, are you by yourself or bringing someone?
I don't know yet. I haven't asked my wife yet.
Okay, so there's a potentially 4. My wife and I'll be there. There's 6. Jim Hink is coming, Ed. I just got an email from him. And I'm trying to see if Troy will come, but it's going to be awesome because it's an opportunity to see some of our E-Club members who are living in the Victoria area. So I will send a follow-up out reminding everybody about that if they plan to come up. Anything else before I say goodnight to Dell and everybody else? Okay, Dell, thank you again for a tremendous program that was really, really educational. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Okay.
And I'll be sending you a nice list.
Good. That's what we need. I mean, if we're going to grow in service as a club, we need to have ideas. And so send us that list, please. Okay. Well, good night, Dell, and good night to everyone. And this time I'll try to be more proactive and get the next information out much sooner. Okay.
Thanks,
So,
Bill.
okay, everybody. Take care. Okay, Dell. You take care.